Why did I decide to become a writer, even though I'm not one? I'm not a writer. I never studied writing. I don't have a degree in literature. English is not even my first language, and yet I write. So why did I decide to become a writer, even though I'm not one? Because some stories do not let you live in peace until they are told. Have you ever carried a story in your heart for so long that it begins to feel heavy, as if it no longer belongs to you? Sometimes, when I speak about my life, people grow very quiet, and then they say, "You really should write this down." For many years, I ignored that voice, not because I didn't have a story, but because I believed stories were meant for people who have made it, people who were successful, impressive, important. And today, everyone looks important online. You open Instagram, you see perfect lives, perfect bodies, perfect homes, achievements, titles. I say this with respect. This is not judgment. This is not criticism. My intention is simply different. I don't want to show perfection. I want to show humanity. I want to show kindness. I want to show love, especially the kind of love that shows up when someone has nothing to give back. My story is not about success. It is not about status. And it is not about achievements. It is about people. When I arrived in the United States from Moldova, I came to a charity organization. A family had agreed to host me. At the very last moment, they changed their mind. They said no. The charity was caught off guard. Suddenly, they had a little girl in a new country, a girl facing multiple surgeries and nowhere to stay. They needed time to find another family. Out of necessity, they asked a woman named Emmy, who volunteered with the charity, someone whose role was usually to drive children where they needed to go. Before we left, while I was already sitting in the car, Amy stepped outside to speak with Elisa, the woman in charge of the children. The door was closed, but the car was quiet. I could hear parts of their conversation. Elisa spoke honestly. She talked about how difficult it was to find host families for children with special needs. How hard it was for people to give up their privacy. Amy nodded and said that this was one of the reasons her own husband was against taking children in for long periods of time. Elisa sounded overwhelmed. At one point, she said that if no family would be found, the surgery will have to be canceled, and I will have to be sent back to my country. On the way to the temporary host family, what was supposed to be a 2-hour drive turned into 5. The weather changed. It began to rain. At one point, a tree fell across the road. Traffic stopped. We were stuck. And in those extra hours, sitting in the rain, waiting, something happened. Amy began asking me questions. She listened more closely. She learned about my surgeries ahead, about my country, about my family. Finally, we arrived at the destination, and she dropped me off. During that month, I hoped Eliza will find a family. A month later, Eliza still hadn't found one. I was told that a plane ticket will be booked to send me back home, and that Amy will come back to take me. When she arrived, I didn't know where we were going, but I knew it was a temporary, another stop before goodbye. When we reached the city, she told me that before going to see Eliza, we needed to stop by her home because she had to check on something. Once we were there, she offered me a drink. Hours passed. Then a man came home. He looked at me with surprise. Amy walked into the room, introduced him as her husband, and took him into another room. After a while, she returned to me as if she wanted to talk, but her phone rang. I could hear Eliza on the other end asking why she was late, asking if something had happened. Amy answered simply, I brought her to my home. My husband and I will take care of her. As I heard this, my eyes filled with tears. Later, I learned that her heart has made this decision a month earlier on that rainy day during the storm. There had been no plan, no prior agreement, no careful preparation. She hadn't convinced her husband in advance. A quiet voice inside her told to take care of me. Looking back now, I don't believe that storm was an accident. On a rainy road, during an unexpected delay, when life slowed down long enough for a heart to change, the love that grew in her heart for a stranger became the love of a mother for a daughter. And this was not the only time. During my time in America, I moved from one surgery to another, from one home to another. I witnessed the same miracle again and again. People from different cultures, people who chose to care for me for weeks, for months, sometimes for years. They expected nothing in return. No applause, no recognition, no reward, just love. These are the stories I write. Stories about humanity, about compassion, about God. Stories about quiet miracles. The kind that don't happen on stages or in headlines, but in hospital rooms, on long rainy roads, and inside ordinary hearts that choose love. I don't write because I call myself a writer. I write because some stories do not allow you to remain silent. If you are still here, thank you. There are many more stories like this, and maybe some of them will help you to see your own life differently.